Hello, everyone, and welcome to Managing Impressions Online. My name is Amy Jauman, and my company is Remotely Smart. For more information about Remotely Smart, go ahead and check out my website at remotelysmart.com or my Facebook page at Amy's Remotely Smart. Today, we're going to talk about what is in your LinkedIn profile. And just to be clear, this is primarily for people that already have an established LinkedIn profile. We aren't going to go through a lot of the basic information like loading your basic resume information, things that you've probably already taken care of. We're really going to focus on about a half a dozen different areas that are often overlooked. So we'll start with thinking about what's actually in your LinkedIn profile. For most people, they've got their current and previous work experience and any kind of formal education along with their summary. And these are very important pieces, but like I said, we're not going to focus on the basics or what most people have already got. I want to emphasize something about the background portion of your LinkedIn profile. Like so many aspects of LinkedIn, this is one of the areas where using keywords correctly is very important. So for example, if you are in an industry where there is a fair amount of buzzwords, or if you're breaking into a new industry and a new program has become available, you want to make sure that in that summary, you're accurately representing any of the information that you have. The example that I typically use is if you are proficient in the Microsoft Office suite. You may have noticed in the last few years you don't hear that term anymore because now people actually list out the specific platforms, PowerPoint, Word, Excel. If you have Microsoft Office Suite in your profile, it's going to get overlooked because if people are using search terms or looking for something specific, it won't pick up that right term. So just make sure that you have that accurately represented. So is your profile just your resume online? You know, if you have taken your LinkedIn profile and created it based off of the content from your resume, that's a great start. There is certainly no harm in doing that. But today we're going to talk about what you can do to help people see you as a lifelong learner with diverse interests. So let's go ahead and start with the fact that LinkedIn really wants you to be successful. So every time you log into your LinkedIn profile, if you click edit, you'll notice on the right-hand side, there's a list of categories that LinkedIn recommends you take a look at for enhancing your own profile. This is an example of one of the ways that LinkedIn makes it easy for you to have a really robust profile in small pieces. One thing that I advise a lot of people to do is if you're revamping your LinkedIn profile, don't try to do too much at once. Consider maybe logging in once a week, maybe adding something every other day. If you use that approach of improving your profile in small pieces, this box on the right-hand side can be a big help to you. I'd also like to mention that as we talk about a few of the things that you can do to enhance your LinkedIn profile, you might have a couple of overarching thoughts. You might say something like, I didn't think to add a specific project, my volunteer activities, things along those lines. You might also say, oh boy, I sure need to go ahead and look at my calendar differently. I need to participate in more professional development. That's perfectly normal. And certainly the goal of this video and LinkedIn in general isn't to make you feel bad about your accomplishments, but you might find yourself uncovering some areas that you would like to improve. I would encourage you to think of that right off the bat as a great resource for you to write your professional development plan. So let's get into these few categories. First of all, what should be in your profile? Well, you need a good headline. So if you don't know what I mean by a headline, it's that description of who you are that comes right under your name. Now mine has a little bit of a story associated with it. You can see here I've selected training and professional development consultant, social media strategist, and speaker. I've probably had maybe a dozen LinkedIn titles over the last year or so because I was constantly refining this title. And a lot of people will ask me, well, if you're constantly changing your title, how does that look? I don't think people are paying too much attention to any one person's profile to notice too much, but you do have the option of turning off the profile changes and alerts that go out to your network if you're worried about too many changes making you look like you're indecisive. But for me, it was about every few weeks or so I kind of refined this title until it said exactly what I wanted. And here was one big learning that I had. For the longest time, I had education consultant, social media strategist, and speaker. And I had the funniest reaction from about a dozen people before I finally realized it was something I needed to take action on. When I had written education consultant, many people thought I only worked with children. I didn't understand that. Education consultant to me meant that I could work with all ages, adults included, but the rest of the world seemed to be perceiving that in a way that wasn't good for me. I like to share that example because I think it's important that we're constantly collecting feedback from people around us so that we can always be using the right terms, especially when we are trying to get noticed by people that maybe we haven't met yet in person. Our next piece that we're going to look at is your contact info. The good news is this is a quick fix if it does need to be updated. The bad news is there's a pretty good chance you've never even noticed this before. Underneath your headline, there's a little box that has your contact information in it. Open it up and just check and make sure that that little box has all of your information and that it's accurate. A lot of people kind of forget that this is here. It is hidden most of the time on your own LinkedIn profile. But remember, if someone is looking for you or trying to contact you, that's going to be the first place they'll go. So you want to make sure that information is up to date. Next thing we'll take a look at is the videos, images, and files that you can store on your LinkedIn profile and how to use those areas of interest. Under each category, under your job descriptions, you have the opportunity to upload files, add pictures, anything that really reflects who you are as an employee. This is going to be different for everybody in all kinds of different industries. So for example, as a trainer and teacher, I have the opportunity to upload things like presentations, files I've created. Other people, project managers, maybe they can upload certifications or presentations that they have created for a client. The one thing I do encourage you to do is make sure that whatever you share is either scrubbed so that no identifying information is visible, or that you do have permission to use that information as part of your online portfolio. The next piece to consider is interests, and this is always a fun conversation to have with people because everyone has a different opinion on this. LinkedIn gives you some examples you can see there. You might want to put something like management training, new technologies, investing, fishing. It's certainly up to you how personal versus professional you'd like to get into your interests. I have it pretty easy because I can talk about a lot of different things related to the fact that I like to read and I do love to teach. I love learning new technologies, exploring new social media platforms. Those are all interests of mine. Conveniently, they're related to the work that I do. A lot of people, though, put things in here like yoga, tennis, things that aren't as related to your profession necessarily, but do help people perceive you and see you as a really well-rounded person. A little bit more about what should be in your profile. How about your volunteer experiences? This is one of the really fun things I like to talk to people about because I find so many people that don't give themselves credit for the work they do within their community. Your volunteer experiences definitely do not have to be at all associated with the work that you do. It's just great for people to get to know you and understand that you are connected to your community. If you do enter volunteer experiences, if you associate yourself with an organization that is on LinkedIn as a company page, the logo for that company will appear. Just kind of looks nice, so be sure to look for that. And if that organization doesn't have a LinkedIn company page, you may want to suggest it. It's a great way to get a name out. You also have an opportunity to list organizations that you support. Now, what does it mean to support an organization? Again, there's so much variation from industry to industry. Use your own discretion. For example, in my profile, I put one of the entrepreneur groups that I have a strong connection to. I'm also going to be adding a training group that I am a new member of, but I could also put some of my more personal associations and organizations that I support, like Home for Life, which is an animal rescue shelter that I support, as well as things related to the industry that I work in, like the Association for Experiential Educators. It's up to you. Just think about what best represents who you are. So we've given you a handful of things to take a look at in your profile, but I want to give you just a little bit more before the end of this video. First of all, consider getting a recommendation. Sometimes people are a little timid or they don't know how to go about asking for a recommendation. I think it's important to realize that most people will be happy to recommend you on LinkedIn. It's a really straightforward process. They just describe a little bit about what you do and what they liked about working with you. When you do request a recommendation, ask your contributors to use specific keywords. You might ask them to include something like a program that you were very involved in, a key piece of software that you used, something that you're trying to emphasize in your own LinkedIn profile. And finally, add recommendations throughout your LinkedIn profile, not just in the background. The reason I mention this is because a lot of times people will think about a job and ask for a recommendation, which is great. It's a great thing to do. But what about the volunteer experience that you have or your education experience? Those are also places where you can ask for a recommendation. Activity is also very important on LinkedIn. If you go to your homepage, you'll see under your name an activity box. This is where you can quickly and easily share information about what you're doing, what you're learning, what you're working on. This is a great way to stay on people's radar. And it's also kind of a fun way to connect with people that may have common interests. You've probably seen people post things like articles and books and projects that they're working on. You can do the same. Just think about what you are doing related to your professional work and what information you can share with other people that might be helpful to them and might help you be perceived as that lifelong learner. Finally, here's one big picture idea for you. If you need ideas for what your LinkedIn profile should look like, go try and hire yourself. Log into LinkedIn and just do a search for someone to fill a job that would be ideal for you. See who comes up. See what their profile looks like. So can your LinkedIn profile be more than your resume online? Go through this video one more time and make a list of the things that you'd like to add. Don't try to do it all at once. Develop a routine or a habit. And then don't forget that you may not have everything that you want to have to add to your profile. Make a professional development plan and keep working towards having that fully rounded profile to get you exactly where you'd like to be on LinkedIn. If you have any additional questions, feel free to contact me through my website at remotelysmart.com, or of course, you can find me on Facebook at Amy's Remotely Smart. Thanks for watching.